On the field, off the field, sports talk, entertainment, and more. This is Sauce on the Side.
Well, hello there, Dippers, and welcome back to episode 47 of Sauce on the Side. I'm your host, Drake. As always, I'm joined by the co-host, by the producer, Leighton Pip Shaventone.
You got to both notice this. If you put a goldfish in vodka, how long will it survive before it drowns?
I would have to say about 30 seconds.
I've never taken care of a goldfish, so I'm really not sure on that.
We're going to test that out.
And Leighton already hinted to it. He's back, the hot take detective, risking life and limb as he is on the road today, Mr. Brandon Riker.
Just call me Dale Earnhardt.
Ooh, Rubbin's racing, baby. Rubbin's racing. So, Dippers, be sure every episode to go ahead, hit that subscribe button, go ahead and give us that 5-star review. Also, Dippers, I am very pleased to announce that we have now partnered with FSGN.com, Fantasy Sports Gaming Network, ran by Blake Sullivan. They will be now putting our podcasts on their website, so be sure to check that out. That's FSGN.com. If you don't go there, make sure you guys are at least going to our iTunes. Make sure you're going to SoundCloud, because you can also find us there. Dippers, we have a very big show for you today. We have a very big interview with Dana White's Contender Series newest face, Mr. Garrett Gross. He's Southern Illinois owned, and he's one tough dude. Guys, we're also going to talk about the Astros and how they're going streaking. We're going to talk about Adrian Hauser and possibly one of the toughest things I've seen all season. We have a full NBA draft preview for you as well, followed by entertainment review. And as always, Dippers, we're going to play some darts. So we'll start it off here first. The Astros have been absolutely hot, but it was not until Leighton C. had called it. He said that the Astros would separate themselves from the Mariners in the AL West because of the cake schedule they had lined up. Fast forward 1 week later, winners of 11 straight. Guys, are the champs primed and in championship form?
Yeah, I think so. I said a few weeks ago that I thought they were the best team in baseball even before this. And yes, they're playing poor competition right now, but their pitching had been the best in the league all season, and now the bats are just catching fire as well. And looking at the schedule, they don't play a team over 500 until after the All-Star break. So I think this trend of them winning, 11, not only 11 straight, but 4 games in a row, 5 games in a row, will continue for the next month.
Well, Leighton, when there's only like 5 or 6 teams in the AL over 500. Oh, okay. Well, they're going to have a pretty good schedule the rest of the way. But yeah, you're right. They're pitching, obviously, early in the season. We've never seen really anything like that at the top of the rotation. And now they're just hitting out of this world. Altuve's putting up MVP numbers again. You have Carlos Correa. You got Springer dingers left and right. And you even got Evan Gattis putting up a hell of a month. So Astros are looking like another championship team.
Yeah, I agree with you there. And you hit on it. This is my biggest point of this whole thing, is Evan Gattis. The man who has a season high of 88 RBIs now has 21 in these 11 games and 6 dingers in those 11 games. I mean, he looks like the reincarnation of Barry Bonds out there. I think he's hitting over 380. Like, whenever you put a guy like Evan Gattis in a lineup with so many stars, you expect him to be able to run into some hot streaks like this. And honestly, it's really fun baseball to watch. Unfortunately, they have been playing some, lesser of opponents, and they won't be able to see good competition again until the All-Star break. But you're winning 11 straight games. I believe 10 of them, maybe even the 11th, was on the road. So this is as impressive as any win streak, even though the competition hasn't been that great. To go into another team's ballpark, they're still MLB teams. It's absolutely impressive. Now, we'll talk about another team that's extremely hot. We actually had a funeral for this team almost a month ago on Ducks on the Pond. Now they decided to follow suit for the Saucy Pod curse and rattle off 11-3 record over their last 14 games. Guys, they're only a game and a half out of first place. Are we buying back into this team?
I don't know if I am yet. I mean, the team's being led by a 500-year-old Matt Kemp, who's batting .340 with 43 RBIs, and a guy named Max Muncy is leading the team with 13 dingers. So, I'm not all the way bought back in on him yet. I still don't think they're going to make the playoffs, but nice to see him doing well. The pitching picked up a whole lot, and now the team staff as a whole has a 3.61 ERA, and the starters is now below 3 for the season. So basically, we're seeing a team that's had a really good month of June.
Yeah, you can think about it two ways. They obviously have players overperforming, like you hit on it right there. Matt Kemp jumped in a time machine and went back to 2011. Makes no sense whatsoever. Typicalism says he won't carry that through the rest of the season. But if you can get some of your other studs hitting better, you can get Justin Turner maybe get up that average a little bit. You get Bellinger batting half what he did last year. You're looking at a pretty good offense, and then you have some pitching probably coming back with Buehler and Kershaw. I just, for some reason, don't like this team. I really think that they might get the wild card, but I think they're still missing the playoffs in lieu of the Giants. Ain't that right?
Ooh, the Giants made their name back into this, and it wasn't even late in this time. I mean, this team has been hot. I mean, series wins over these are the last few series they played. Series wins against the Giants, Braves, Pirates, Padres, and they swept the Rockies, Rangers, and Nationals, and they split with the Phillies. They're 20-7 in their last 27 games, and in that span, Kershaw only pitched 5 innings.
Right.
And this is a team that early in the season we're saying, well, we're just waiting for Justin Turner to come back. We're just waiting for Justin Turner to come back. Well, they're 20-7 in their last 27 games. Justin Turner's played 25 games this season, so I think we found out what the missing piece to this puzzle is. I mean, even though he's not playing up to the level that we know Justin Turner can play, just having the guy in the clubhouse, I think, has been huge for these guys day in and day out because the supporting cast has been doing so good. And it's very odd to see that this team is led by, Matt Kemp, who's hitting .338, 12 home runs. I mean, playing back to his 2011 days. And, it's kind of fun watching because, Kershaw has been hurt recently, but we see the emergence of guys like Ross Stripling, who's 6-1 with a sub-2 ERA. I mean, if you mix that pitching performances from Ross Stripling and you're looking at a team with 8 guys with at least home runs, that's going to be a recipe for success. And, I don't think that this success will continue. It'll be interesting to see what happens, though, once Kershaw is back.
It's hard for mediocre players to keep up really high production through 162 games. That was my biggest thing.
No, I absolutely agree with you. I think that they're just kind of waiting for Kershaw to get back, and then, this team may make their playoff push.
I think they're making a playoff push right now. I mean, talk about the show. We had a funeral for them 2 weeks ago, and now they're 37-33 of second place in the NL West.
Yeah,
most
but I don't
necessarily... Most of it in baseball, but still, nonetheless.
Yeah.
Saucy Pod curse.
Yeah, the Saucy Pod curse does strike again. So I don't know if you guys saw any video of this, but Adrian Hauser vomited twice while he was standing on the mound in the same inning, continues to pitch to finish off the inning versus the Phillies. It was possibly one of the most odd things. He did give up 1 run, but he was, still pitched well after he had thrown up twice on the mound. Guys, where does this rank on your list of, all-time just badass moments in the MLB?
Well, I mean, I don't want to speculate why he was throwing up. He might have had a late night before or something like that. Yeah. If he did, power to him, because I've done throwing events hungover before, and they are not a good time. But,
absolutely not.
I don't know, but this for me is right up there with Nolan Ryan pounding that dude's head in that fight. This is up there.
This is one of the most badass moves of all time.
Rolling Odor.
Yeah. It's like up there with the Kurt Schilling blood. It's way cooler than Kurt Schilling's bloody foot.
Way cooler.
No, this is just amazing.
Yeah, I agree with you. I actually rattled off a list of the coolest things that I had in the MLB history, just to see where this would kind of rank. I had Nolan Ryan absolutely pummeling Robin Ventura at number 1. Number 2 was Carlos Zambrano whenever he fought Michael Barrett in the dugout. Number 3 was actually Mo Vaughn dropping the Goldberg spear on George Bell. Not necessarily just because of the Goldberg spear, but it was very, very awesome because they actually got Mo Vaughn to hustle. And then 4 was Pedro Martinez throwing a 73-year-old Don Zimmer to the dirt and parlaying that into a job on TV just a few years later. So, I think that you could possibly put this up there in that list of coolest things you've seen in baseball, because honestly, it was funny. If you haven't seen the video, you definitely have to check it out, because he did actually throw up twice on the mound. So we'll go ahead and talk about a guy who's absolutely blowing away the NL and looking like your obvious MVP, and that's Freddie Freeman. Guys, he's top 3 in batting average, home run, and RBIs. Ironically, those 3 stats are what make up the Triple Crown, so we'll go ahead and jump on this early before I've seen it anywhere else. Guys, do you think that Freddie Freeman has a legitimate shot to win the Triple Crown this season?
I think he does have a shot. Will he do it? I don't know. I do think he has a shot at that because, one, he's already top 3 in all those categories. And I know that whenever they built that new stadium for Atlanta, they built it for Freddie Freeman. They have a shorter right field for Freddie Freeman. So I gave him a decent chance at doing that. And plus, if the team keeps playing well enough, then he'll have less pressure on him to perform. And at times, that makes players perform better.
Yeah, he definitely has a chance. Freddie Freeman is one of those players like Paul Goldschmidt, like primed Anthony Rizzo. They just have that unique ability to hit for. It's just a really well balanced hitter. I'm trying to say they have power. They can choke up, put the ball in play. Freddie Freeman has always been that guy at the high average. He hasn't necessarily had the pure power numbers as some of the other players. So I think that's actually where he's going to fall short, is the home runs. If I could see him doing average, I could see him doing RBIs. I think the power numbers won't be there, though.
Yeah, it's kind of tough to say, because a guy like Freddie Freeman, I mean, he's a huge guy. He's 6'5", 220 pounds. But unlike most guys that are just towering human beings, he is actually a really good baseball player. You look at guys like you look at guys like Stanton, Judge. They're like 260, 270 career guys. But Freddie Freeman, I mean, he's a 3-hit game away from being a 300 hitter. I think the last I checked, his average was 298 over his career, which is absolutely phenomenal. Right. His power numbers haven't always been there. They've fluctuated. But like Leighton said, the dude is so good that the Atlanta Braves actually built their ballpark for his dimensions. So I think it's an absolute possibility. I mean, as long as Bryce Harper finally figures out, like, hey, I got to stop swinging out of my shoes every time and quit trying to lift home runs so I can get my average above 220. Until that happens, I think he's going to stay below Bryce Harper in the home run race. But I think it's an absolute dead set match. He's going to lead the NL in RBIs and average, especially whenever he has a guy like Nick Markakis who's hitting 327 behind him, and he has Albies, Swanson, Acuna, Inciarte all kind of getting mixed up, hitting ahead of him, and those guys are double machines. I mean, you look at guys like Albies and Swanson, they are more likely to hit a double than maybe anything else, and that sets it up for the RBIs, and that the average is always going to be there for Freddie Freeman. And honestly, a guy like Freddie Freeman, who's played as long as he has in the MLB, I think it's his 10th season, and he's only been in the playoffs twice. It'd be something nice for Freddie Freeman to get.
It'd be nice. But quick note on Freddie Freeman, though. I don't know if you're on your team or not, because his was only 3.6, which is below Matt Chapman's 3.9, and batting 250.
This just in. Freddie Freeman, despite how good he's been this season, his WAR is still not as good as Matt Chapman's.
No.
WAR is the end-all stat, guys.
Yeah, they're an interesting group there, that's for sure.
So, Drake, you don't like the WAR stat very much?
No, actually, I'm not a huge fan of the WAR stat.
Do you have a lot of thoughts that go against the WAR stat?
No thoughts against the WAR stat, but I actually do have some thoughts for you.
Oh, well, let's hear them.
It was all a dream. I used to read Word Up magazine.
So we're going to start this off by brushing up on a take. Logan Woodside, my beloved Toledo Rocket, was caught driving drunk last week. I'm not saying his drinking was the reason that they didn't run the table. I'm just saying that it didn't help. John Harbaugh. We're going to have packages that include Lamar Jackson and Joe Flacco on the field at the same time. John Harbaugh, that may be the most clever way anybody has ever tried to trick Lamar Jackson into wide receivering. DeAndre Ayton. newest face of Puma basketball. Many are calling this the second largest contract he's ever inked in his life. Jay-Z taking his Empire State of Mind to the presidential seat of Puma basketball. Puma basketball, the Brooklyn Nets of the basketball shoe game. Vince McMahon, does anything say all in more than giving Oliver Luck $20 million to be your commissioner? And finally, what if I told you that there was an MLB pitcher who gave up 6 runs in 10 games and only picked up 2 wins? Tune in this week for The Darkest Nights, the Jacob deGrom story. And those have been my thoughts.
It really is a shame for DeGrom and the Mets right now.
Oh, it absolutely is, man. I mean, the guy's throwing lights out. He's bringing it every single day. And, you know, sky's the limit for this guy because he's doing it on a bad ball club. And we've seen guys in the past just absolutely fold whenever they're trying to go out there day in and day out and deliver for a bad team. So hats off to him. And hopefully they can get him traded because that 144 batting average over 2 weeks wasn't cutting it for the Mets.
It's not, and plus he's leading the league in ERA. I mean, he gets 1.55 runs per start. I mean, what do you want from a guy?
Yeah, that's absolutely crazy. So, guys, we'll go ahead and transition now to a very fun interview, actually. This week, we had Garrett Gross on, and if you don't know who that is, he's an MMA fighter from Southern Illinois. And he actually signed last week to be on the Dana White Contender Series. So, guys, I hope you enjoy.
All right, Dippers. Today we have a very special interview for you today. Our guest today, former Bellator competitor, professional MMA fighter, and newest member to Dana White's Contender Series, Garrett Gross. Welcome to the show.
Thank you. I appreciate you having me.
So, Garrett, growing up in small-town Southern Illinois, how did you get started into MMA?
Well, I was actually in college, and I came back on a Friday night. My dad coaches football here in DuQuoin, and I came back to watch a high school game, and I ran into a kid who I grew up with. You know, there's one school here, so you know everybody. I grew up playing football, basketball, track, and he played all those sports too. And he was a hard worker, but he wasn't great at any of those sports. And he told me that he had been fighting and that he was 5-0 as an amateur. And me, being young and arrogant, said, "Dude, there's no way. Like, there's no way that you're 5-0 as an amateur. Like, I don't fight, and I could beat you right now." So then he invited me over to his house the next week to just do like some boxing sparring. And I went over to his house, and he was beating me. So I started training, and then I just kept doing it, really. About, I think, 3 months after that, I had my first amateur fight.
Right. That's kind of the mindset you see with a lot of fighters, you know, even before you had gotten into fighting. You know, you kind of went in with the mentality that, you know, nobody's going to beat you.
Sure.
And I was doing a little research. I saw that you spent some time down at one of the biggest and maybe the best MMA gyms in the world, American Top Team, down in Coconut Creek, Florida. What was it like being in such a high-level gym, and how did it propel you to be where you are today?
You know, it was a great experience. I trained with some of the top guys in the UFC, but you have to remember, too, that it's a business. So it was almost like a high school where there was different cliques, different people hung out with different people. Coaches weren't always on the same page. I got some really good training there, but I was there trying to be the toughest guy and not the smartest guy. So when I moved back to Illinois, I had a different support system here. Even though it's smaller, I don't always have the same caliber of training partners, but I have the athletic ability, I have the heart, I have the mindset. Now I've just been basically just getting sharper, being smarter about it. So
Right.
with the different support system, man, I've got people in the gym cheering me on that want to see me succeed. You know, when I was at American Top Team, I have a lot of love for a lot of people there, but it wasn't. You call it American Top Team, but it's not a team. It's guys from all over the world coming to make themselves better.
Right.
You know? So here I have a different support system. My family's down here, so since I moved back, I haven't lost. So I think it's been a good move for me.
Yeah, absolutely. You've been riding a hot streak. And for people that don't necessarily pay attention to MMA, you are definitely have the athletic ability to succeed at something like this. You mix that with, toughness and, drive. It's propelled you to be a very good fighter. And you've fought in quite a few different organizations, quite a few high-level organizations, maybe most notably Bellator. You just inked a deal to fight with Dana White's Contender Series. How do you think that this will be any different than any of the challenges that you faced before?
Well, I think that the competition level will definitely be a little bit higher. But I'm finishing all my fights. I'm knocking people out, first round, second round, submitting people. So I think it's time to step up. I think I'm ready for the UFC. Basically, it'll be. I think the most challenging part is being able to compete at that level and balance your life. You got work. I've got 2 kids, a wife, and another kid on the way. So I think the most challenging thing will be to be able to get my training, to be able to spend time with my family, be able to be good at all those things, So I think that is the most challenging part.
Right, and it's very respectable. Out of all the people that we've had on this show to talk about, some of the people that, I respect the most are definitely the MMA fighters that are working their way towards the top because, if people don't really understand it, but MMA is a pretty cutthroat business. You alluded to it earlier, talking about your time at American Top Team and how basically everybody's there for themselves. And, a lot of fighters, well over the majority, they have to do something else to help provide for their families, provide for themselves while they're fighting. So to be able to wear so many different hats and be able to balance all those is definitely respectable. On July 31st, Roosevelt Roberts. Do you know anything about this opponent that you're going to be facing?
I don't know a lot. I've researched him a little bit. He is 5-0. He also has all 5 wins by finish. He's a tall guy, but the videos I've looked up, they're a little bit older, so I haven't seen anything as recent.
Right.
So really, that's all I know really about him right now. I've got my management and some other people trying to get some information. So regardless of what he brings, I'll be ready.
Right, and I definitely believe you there. I was looking at that night of fights, and I don't think that they've all been announced yet, but just looking at that, I think that's going to be definitely an exciting matchup. Like you said, he goes out there and he works for a finish, you do the same, and in the Contender Series where, you're going to have probably 5 fights, and more than likely they're going to hand out the one contract. An exciting fight, and you pick up the win, that's gearing you right towards being able to be the guy standing there at the end of the night with the UFC contract.
Sure. That's what we plan for.
Yeah, and we wish you the best for that.
Thank you.
So, I've heard a little. We'll step outside of the ring here. I heard you do a lot with saving turtles and catching turtles. A source close to me has actually told me that you've caught 80 turtles this year.
That is just a record. It hasn't been this year. There was one time that I caught 83 turtles in one day.
80? Oh, in one day.
Yeah.
Holy smokes! How did you get into that?
When I was a kid, my dad and his brothers, when they were young, caught turtles. They would go out to this local. We have a fairgrounds here in DuQuoin, and they would catch baby turtles, and they could sell them. Well, when I was probably about 4 or 5 years old, my uncle took me out to the fairgrounds and was going to show me how to catch baby turtles. And I remember seeing this turtle, and it jumped into the water and took off swimming. My uncle jumped in and was like up to his knees and caught this turtle. So I thought it was awesome, crazy that he caught this turtle. So they kept teaching me, and I like reptiles. I like challenges, and that's another thing is people think turtles, like, yeah, on the land they're slow, but try to catch them in the water. So it's hard. It's hard to go out there and catch something in their domain, in their habitat. So it's a little bit of a challenge. So I think that's really why I like it.
Right. That's pretty crazy, honestly. So whenever you do this, do you go in after, like, because in my mind, whenever I think of different turtles, like, there's the two kinds. There's the turtle that you're really not scared of. You'll pick it up, hold it, and it's, not really scary. And then you have these, they look like dinosaurs, basically.
Yeah.
The huge snapping turtles that, you put a stick down there and they break it in half. And I definitely just run away from those things. Do you actually go in the water and try to catch, like, those large, like, I think they're called, like, alligator snapping turtles?
Yeah, we here have more of a common snapper. The alligator snapper are more south.
Yeah.
But the common snapper can still get big, and they can still, do damage. Yeah, I do catch those. Obviously, I would handle them a little bit different. I would catch them, use a little more caution catching those, but that is another challenge. So that's fun too.
Yeah, that's pretty crazy. You kind of get the same rush whenever you're down there, like, actually swimming after one of the, like, a big snapping turtle that you do whenever you're in the cage?
I wouldn't compare it to that. It's a little more minor, but it's the same thing, just not as much.
Right. So I talked a little bit about the fight on the 31st. Do you have any predictions for us?
I mean, I think that I'll finish him in the first round, KO or TKO. This is it, so I'm coming to fight. I'm going to be in his face. I'm going to pressure him. I think that he's a longer guy, but I don't know how well he uses his length. And he's aggressive too. And I think if he's aggressive against me, a uppercut hook is putting you out.
Right. And we'll definitely be rooting for that. Garrett, thank you very much. And I'll definitely be tuned in on July 31st. And we'll be rooting for not only just a win, but a super impressive win. Impress Uncle Dana and get the job done and get that contract.
Thank you, sir. I appreciate it.
All right. Thank you again for Garrett Gross for coming in. We really appreciate that. So, guys, let's go ahead and segue into my favorite segment of the week. That's darts, baby.
Pew, 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 pew. We're playing darts, baby.
Guys, if you're not familiar with the game darts, this is how it's going to go. This week, we're going to have the Rising Stars Challenge. So what we've done here is we've compiled, since it's the NBA draft week, we compiled the all-rookie team from this past season, and we put them all across the dartboard. Each player was assigned 2 numbers because there wasn't a number enough to fill the actual whole dartboard. And we will throw 2 darts apiece, and then we will debate which of those rookies that we would rather have going forward. Latency, producer, your 2 throws.
We got a 20, which is Kyle Kuzma. And a 15, which is Josh Collins. Well, Josh Collins, in case you don't know, is a center from Atlanta Hawks that Fletcher, him from Hunter Hoops Hysteria, is actually kind of a big fan of. He averaged 9 points a game as a rookie, and not so many minutes. But, Kyle Kuzma, he was one of the best rookies this season. He can always score in a multitude of ways, shoots good percentages, plays good defense, super athletic. He's one of the rookies that are projected to have one of the better careers. So, without a doubt, I'm taking Kyle Kuzma in this race.
Yeah, I think I'm going to have to agree with you on this. Kyle Kuzma, he's kind of like your do-it-all guy. Averaged 16 points this season, which is absolutely phenomenal for any rookie, any way you stretch it. And, Josh Collins is good, but I know that the Lakers weren't great by any stretch of the imagination, but they had a lot more talent than what the Hawks had. So, every bad team has their best player type thing. And, Kyle Kuzma, I think that he could be productive even on a winning team, and he would definitely see minutes on a winning team. And the weird thing about Kuzma is as soon as the draft was over, basically everybody came out of the woodworks and said, oh, yeah, this Kyle Kuzma guy is going to be pretty good. Well, turns out that they were right, and we don't know why he fell so far. And all the draft experts were pretty wrong going into the draft. But I have to go hands down Kyle Kuzma.
Yeah, John Collins is just boring to me. He's just your prototypical center that's going to get you maybe 10 and 10, 15-10. Kyle Kuzma's got a disc track. He's got flair. He's much more athletic, and I think eventually he'll be a good dribble drive guy. He's definitely the guy you want going forward in the NBA, and I don't want the snooze fest of John Collins. I want to sell some tickets. So,
yeah,
Kyle Kuzma.
I agree with you 100% there. And, do you get any more boring of a name than John Collins?
No, that sounds like an alien.
John Smith would be worth him to have.
Yeah. That's John Collins and John Smith.
Yeah, and just for jersey sales alone, Kyle Kuzma is going to go ahead and sell more jerseys just because of the cool last name.
Definitely.
Unanimous vote, Kyle Kuzma. Now, my throw.
We got 7, Ben Simmons.
Uh-oh.
And a 3, Lonzo Ball.
Oh, very, very interesting.
That was a good one.
That was a good throw there. Well, this basically you have 2 pass first point guards. The only difference is that they're both not going to make any threes, and the other, but the only difference between them is that one will actually shoot the threes, and the other one has the discipline to know not to shoot the three. Ben Simmons was, arguably the best, in my opinion, second best player on a team that was very, very successful, overperformed. Ben Simmons is kind of that do-it-all guy, and at this point, I don't know if I would take more than 3 or 4 point guards in the NBA going forward over Ben Simmons, and for that case, heads and shoulders, Ben Simmons is my vote here.
Oh, I 100% agree with you, man. Ben Simmons is definitely the future. Like I think we've all kind of dubbed him as a generational talent, and I like that we got the 2 pass first point guards, but just one has a more broken jumper, but he likes to shoot more. I don't know, but Ben Simmons is definitely the guy we got going forward. What do you think, Layden?
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely Ben Simmons. Lonzo Ball, though, he does have superstar potential, but he ended this past season, and we don't know where he's going to be at next year with the whole, possibly shameful Kawhi Leonard thing. So I'm going to go with Ben Simmons.
Yeah, Lonzo is a prison jumper.
Yeah, it's terrible.
I mean, not that Ben Simmons is Ray Allen out here or anything, but
no,
at least looks good. It looks better.
Yeah, and he knows he can't shoot, so.
Yeah, he knows he can't shoot. He owns it. He shoots like 11 threes the whole entire season. I can live with that.
Actually, Dick, it was 7 threes, and they were all like buzzer beater heaves.
Oh, okay.
He never shot an actual 3-pointer in a game.
So they were heaves, very similar to a Lonzo Ball jump shot.
There we go.
Lonzo heaves it.
Okay, Mr. Riker, your throw.
We have a 4. Jason Tatum. And a 19. Josh Jackson.
Oh, man. Well, of course it's going to be Jason Tatum. You'd be kind of stupid not to pick him. Josh Jackson's he really underperformed. Picked it up in the second half of the season. But Jason Tatum, he's just... I don't think this is really a debate. It's Jason Tatum. I don't even have anything funny to say.
Yeah, I agree with you. It's Jason Tatum. But Josh Jackson, he has all the potential to be one of the best players in the NBA. Because, he's a very good defender second half of last season. I started coming along defensively as well. For a rookie season, definitely Tatum. But going forward throughout their career, I can see them playing on very even playing fields, especially as the Suns do get better as a team.
Yeah, I think I would almost take Jason Tatum over any one of these guys that was a rookie this past year. I mean, he was absolutely a stud in the Eastern Conference Finals. There were games that, he looked like he was the best player on the court. And, LeBron James was out there, which is very, very interesting. But I'm not saying that he's better than LeBron. I mean, don't get me wrong there. But there were points and flashes.
I was about to ask you that one.
Yeah, whenever he went up and dunked on LeBron, like, that's the kind of guy that I want, kind of got in his face. Like, he's just a tough-minded dude, and he's going to do absolutely everything he can to win. And, that was very much the truth in the playoffs. So I would take Jason Tatum probably over any other rookie.
Well, to be fair to Josh Jackson got to play in the Suns, and Jason Tatum had Brad Stevens coaching him. So,
yeah, Brad Stevens can make anybody good. He could. I honestly think that he could take us three to the Big Three championship. With who's running that thing? Ice Cube. Yeah. With Ice Cube watching. So just
a bunch of 6'1" boys.
Oh yeah, 6'1" boys dominating the Big Three on the wings of Brad Stevens.
Is that gonna be back this year?
Oh
yes.
Yeah. Oh yeah, dude. Did you see how jacked Mike Bibby is?
Yes, he's
ridiculous.
He's definitely juicing. He's on the 5% Cano diet.
Dude, like, Mike Bibby on the Kings was like Barry Bonds on the Pirates. And
oh, yes.
Mike Bibby in the Big Three is now Barry Bonds that we all know and love from the Giants.
I hate the Big Three.
Just a recap here. We picked Kyle Kuzma over John Collins, Ben Simmons over the Big Baller brand, and Jason Tatum over Josh Jackson.
So out of those three guys, who are you taking?
Ben Simmons.
I'd take Jason Tatum.
It's tough for me because Ben Simmons, if he's not a point guard, then I'm not really sure what he is. And Jason Tatum, superstar in Boston, but how much of that was Brad Stevens? So just knowing how good Coach Brad Stevens is, and how good a coach can make a player, and also his potential alone, I'm going with Ben Simmons.
Yeah, but you can't coach dunking on LeBron.
All right, Dippers, we're going to go ahead and switch gears here, and we're going to hit the NBA draft pretty hard, seeing that it is just Thursday. And joining Leighton, C, and I in our roundtable discussion of the NBA draft is our St. Louis correspondent, Fletcher Hoig.
It's the NBA draft, boys. It's a time where millionaires are made and millionaires are fired.
That could not be more correct, actually.
Yep.
So we'll start it off hot and heavy. We're going to run through the first few picks, talk about some interesting scenarios for teams, hand out some bust awards, and we'll even talk about some sleepers. So, Fletcher, with the first pick of the 2018 NBA draft, the Phoenix Suns select
DeAndre Ayton.
What a surprise.
What a surprise. Well, it's him or LiAngelo. So
him or LiAngelo?
Yeah, flip of the coin.
Yeah, that is a flip of the coin. Both of them have extremely high ceilings. Leighton, you have DeAndre Ayton going first as well.
I mean, yeah, I don't think there's much argument to it, really. I mean, definitely best on the board, safest pick for the Suns, who are still ways away from being competitive. I think Ayton's a no-brainer pick here.
Yeah, I thought this was pretty weird, though, that the Phoenix Suns came out and said that they were going to make a huge push for Clint Capella. Even after they were going to go out and offer a guy like Clint Capella max money, and you're sitting there at the top of the draft board, and DeAndre Ayton's on the board. That was a little fishy to me.
They're trying to go the exact opposite of what's winning basketball games right now, so that they can stay bad and keep getting these top prospects.
Yeah, just get a bunch of bigs out there, 5 bigs.
They could just be throwing people off the scent, trying to mess with them. I think the Rockets got to shell out big cash for him. People at 2 were like, oh, who they taking?
Inefficiency starts after the draft.
Yeah.
Both strategy.
Do you think that adding Ayton to that young core of players moves the needle on them at all to win more games next year?
I do. I don't know how much, though, but it helps because what it's going to do is allow guys like Josh Jackson and Dragon Bender to play the 4 and still have that safety net behind him. So that's gonna be big time for him, but he's going to lock down the paint. He's going to be a legitimate low post threat on offense, which they haven't had in forever, I guess. I don't know when the last time they had that. So he's going to help. Not going to help a lot early, but he's going to be huge.
See, the one thing that really jumps out to me about taking a big early in the draft is the lack of success that's led for teams. I was looking over players that were considered centers coming out of college and how they've done in the NBA after they got drafted. And taking a center early on does not lead to team success. I was showing Leighton earlier, I wrote down every single center that had been drafted in the first round, running through like Jahlil Okafor's, Hashim Tabit's. I think it was the draft year that Andrew Bogut got taken. That was the last time that a center drafted in the top 10.
Andrew Bynum.
No, it was Andrew Bogut and Bynum. Both of them were in the same draft class.
Oh.
So you had two guys that season that eventually ended up to become NBA champions, but since then, it's been absolutely nobody. I mean, even Anthony Davis, who you can consider probably the best big in the NBA, he has 5 career playoff wins to this point. You look at another guy like Boogie, who you consider, right up there with Anthony Davis, and also Karl Anthony Towns right up there with Anthony Davis. Those guys combined for 5 total playoff wins. That's pretty crazy to me.
Yeah, I mean, it's weird to me to think about it like that, because they say Anthony Davis has 5 total playoff wins, and he's a superstar player, and these superstar players to win the NBA. But right now, the way the NBA is going, you need 3 or 4 guys like that to be competitive and actually have a chance. So, I guess, according to numbers, taking a center in the first round or top 10, that matter, is a definite risk of how big players right now. But we have a player like Ayton, like Bomber, like Jackson. I feel like you got to take the best player out there if your team is this bad.
Yeah, but if you look back at the years, shouldn't that make you just a little bit skeptical? I think the only other guy that was after Bynum and Bogut both got drafted that has had success in the playoffs was Enes Kanter, who was on a team with 3 other All-Stars. So obviously he's going to be making it to the Western Conference Finals. But I don't even know if they made it to the championship with Enes Kanter on that team.
Would you guys take AD on your team?
Oh, absolutely.
Porzingis?
Yeah, I probably would.
Cat?
Yeah, I probably would.
Boogie?
Probably would.
Embiid?
Yeah.
So a lot of these guys you would take, right?
Yes.
Well, the thing is, yes, it is going to a guard-forward league, so that matters. And the big guy is rare in his position that in basketball he's dependent on other players to get the basketball. So those are 2 aspects you have to take into consideration. But the big deal here is you have the top prospects going to the shittiest teams. That's like being the best doctor out of Harvard going to the shittiest hospital,
right
over here in town or something like that. It's just, I attribute it more to being in a non-competitive environment, a fluctuating front office, a not stable organization to a lot of these things. Like New Orleans, awful. Minnesota, been awful forever. They were awful before they got Cat. So I would take Ayton. But I will say that Phoenix resembles that kind of organization that could take a guy and shit the bed with him.
No, I agree with you.
But that's a Phoenix issue, though, not so much an Ayton issue.
Right. But if you look at DeAndre Ayton, he looks so much different than any big that we've had come out recently. I mean, if you just look at him.
Yeah,
I mean,
skill.
Well, yeah, he has skill, and he has the body size. He's a massive human being for being so young. So he's a little different than your Nerlens Noels of the NBA.
Right.
Even different than what Anthony Davis looked like.
I mean, he's coming out at 7'1", 260.
Yeah, that's not too bad.
I was a student in high school at 18, and we looked him up after the game was over, and he was like 7'1", 245 or something like that as an 18-year-old. So
that's crazy.
Dudes don't come around like that very often.
Yeah, I hope it's a good fit because with all those players around him, it could be interesting there in Phoenix.
Yeah, they do have the guards and forwards around him. So, especially with Booker. Booker's a great player.
And if Marquise Chris could ever figure out how to basketball, that team, I think, would
could be dangerous.
Yes.
Hey, what about Jackie Bender? Is he still in Phoenix?
Oh, yeah.
He's still playing basketball even?
Oh, yeah. Number 4 pick, baby. He was another one of my guys.
I don't know if he's playing.
Yeah. He's another big that went there with Alex Lynn. Same thing. I mean, they just kind of...
Maybe Phoenix just shouldn't draft Ayton just off of his history with Big and just take the best point guard.
Maybe they just shouldn't draft, period, because they haven't done too well.
Just trade out.
They were taking guards for a long time there. They took like Ulyss, and they had a bunch of guards on that team. It's like, what are you doing? And then they tried to sign LaMarcus Aldridge like that was going to happen. So,
yeah, hopefully things turn around for Phoenix because they've been bad for a really long time.
You heard what DeAndre Ayton said?
What'd he say?
He and Devin Booker to be the new Shaq and Kobe.
Oh, my goodness.
Yeah.
I think there's more Shaq on that side than Kobe.
Yeah. Well, I don't know. It just depends on how much Booker wants to shoot the ball.
Yeah.
Booker scored 71.
Yeah, he did. In a loss.
Well, Kobe won his game.
Yeah, he had the look in his eye at least. So we'll get to pick number 2. Interesting scenario. They definitely a fortunate case on Lotto night. They were 6th best odds to get the first overall pick. They ended up with the 2nd overall pick. This team really doesn't have any identity. So where would you see this team drafting?
I would just take the best player available, assuming Doncic would come to your team if you draft him, because there have been rumors that he hasn't or that he won't. But I would take Doncic just because of what you said, they have no identity. So just take the best player available, and I believe that's Doncic. They got young players all over the roster. So at some point, no matter who you take at any position, they're going to be moved over, loss of playing time, whatever. So just take the best player available, and in my mind, that's Doncic.
See, I don't think Doncic has a safer floor than this guy. I'll take Marvin Bagley Jr. because look at Sacramento, they have two players in Fox and Hield, and after that, they have no identity. And Bagley has just some problem in the NBA. He's only going to be a 3 or a 4. So go to like Sacramento, you can get playing time at both the 3 and the 4, and kind of try to figure out where he's going to be at for his NBA career. And I think that he's a higher ceiling than Doncic does, so he's a better pick for Sacramento to take. See, Sacramento, like you said, has no direction right now.
Yeah, they really don't. I would lean towards where Fletcher's going with that, though, with Luka Doncic, just for the simple fact that, like, the Kings have been bad for so long that they almost need, like, that unsung hero to come out of nowhere to be good for them. And that guy could possibly be on their bench. He could have been hurt all last year, and that'd be Harry Giles. Because I feel like if you go with a guy like Bagley, like you were talking about, you're completely just saying, okay, well, we're kind of going to give up on Harry Giles and his development as a player, which, you fast forward back to 2016, he was the number one player coming out of high school. He suffers an injury, went to Duke, things really didn't pan out, and you're kind of putting him on the shelf like a lot of bad teams do with your players to see how they develop. Yep. I really think that could be scary moving forward. You have Fox, Hield, you throw Doncic in the mix, you have Bogdanovich, and then you have Giles and Cauley-Stein. So I think that'd be a good core to build around, and I think if you got Doncic there, that would give your team some identity, and you would have some form of direction.
Yeah, I like Bagley a lot, and I could see them taking him. I could see them taking. They're apparently really high on Michael Porter Jr. too, so I could see them taking either one of those guys. The only thing is with Bagley, if I see Bagley going to the Kings, I could see him falling into Scalabrine in 30 games.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, I can see that. So we'll move to pick number 3. It's Atlanta Hawks. There's actually been interesting rumors come out recently that Trae Young could be this pick. Fletcher, you were actually the one telling me about this. What was the whole deal with the Trae Young thing?
Yeah, so the Trae Young thing, apparently Quavo is real big on signing Trae Young because I guess Quavo he has a song or something where he talks about dripping and it's like dressing well, fresh, whatever. Then the splash thing, I don't really know all this stuff. I don't know that shit.
I think it's drip, drip, splash.
Yeah, see, I don't know that shit. And anyway, Trae Young's a good shooter, so splash, blah, blah, blah. Atlanta Hawks are thinking about taking him because
Quavo, the rapper, said.
Because Quavo, like the staple of Atlanta, wants him.
They might as well just take Hot Sauce's opinion into it as well, also, since he does the halftime show with them. See what he wants.
Move Hot Sauce and Quavo into the front office. We'll see how it goes for the Hawks from there.
They have a really fly team.
Yeah.
What direction do you think the Hawks are actually going to go?
If you got John Collins, I think a perfect player to put next to him would be Marvin Bagley. That's just my opinion, though. Both two versatile bigs. I guess either one could play either position on any given night, depending on the matchup. So I like pairing Bagley and John Collins together. The Taurean Prince. I think it works out.
Yeah, a lot like Sacramento. The Hawks have John Collins, like one good player, very good player. So if Bagley goes to 3 to take Bagley, but sometimes going 2, I think look at Doncic because after Bagley and Doncic, this floors really fall off for me, and Doncic definitely is the best player past Dayton and Bagley.
Yeah, I think the obvious pick there would be I'm going Marvin Bagley just because I have Doncic going at 2, and basically, John Collins, and then you have Miles Plumlee as your second best big probably. Yeah. So I think that would be a perfect fit for Bagley, and I think that's a place that he could actually succeed. Pick number 4, very, very odd situation. Team just a playoff. They were a playoff team just a year ago. Basically bringing back the same core players. Mike Conley only played in 12 games last year. End up with the number 4 pick. Fletch, where do you see the Grizzlies going with that 4th pick?
There have been quite a few guys in the draft process who have actually turned down workouts with the Memphis Grizzlies just because of, for I don't know, whatever reason, they don't like the way Memphis plays.
How's that for data?
They don't. Yeah, exactly. They don't like the grit stuff. They don't like the city. I don't know what else there is. But
NBA going soft, I see.
So, I don't know who exactly has worked out for them and who has given them their medical information or not, but I could see them taking Michael Porter Jr. or Jaren Jackson, and I would probably take Michael Porter Jr. at 4. I think he's a way better player than Jaren Jackson, or will be a better player than Jaren Jackson, but Jaren Jackson would fit in fine. He could stretch the floor next to Marc Gasol, and he's going to be a great athlete, but I would take Michael Porter Jr.
Yeah, with me, actually, it's the same 2 players because they do have Marc Gasol and Mike Conley, so Jaren Jackson Jr. and Michael Porter Jr. both have super high ceilings. I would lean more towards Jaren Jackson just because of Porter's injuries.
Yeah, and it's interesting because Michael Porter Jr. actually came out and denied to go work out for teams because of back spasms. So that could be something to watch.
That's a big red flag.
Yeah, that's a huge red flag. He could be slipping on boards. But then again, you look at the way that the NBA is going, they could look at Michael Porter Jr. and say, hey, this is a guy that is probably injured coming in. We can shelf him for a year. We can be bad again. We can go out and get a draft pick. We can get a guy that, we can take Porter, shelf him, then get another really, really good draft pick next year because our team's not going to change it at all and we're still going to be bad. But it's hard for me to see the Grizzlies wanting to go that route because, in my eyes, the Grizzlies probably sit there and still think that they can win basketball games. You have Mike Conley, who was hurt all season. Gasol, a lot to be left desired with him last year. So I still have them taking Porter Jr., but I think that they're going to be that team that tries to rush him back out there because they think they can make the playoffs.
That makes sense for sure. I can't go on Grizzlies though. The Grizzlies, in my opinion, will just need to trade Gasol and Conley.
Yeah.
I mean, Conley's contract could be hard to move. Like you said, he was injured last season a lot, but they could find someone to take him. And then get more draft pick and more young talent because there's no point being mediocre in the NBA.
What are you fighting for, the 7th spot?
Yeah, well, that's what they fought for 2 years ago, so they're going right back at her.
Right.
Pick number 5, Mark Cuban's boys, Dallas Mavericks. Really could go anywhere here, I think, except point guard.
That'd be stupid.
Yeah, that would be pretty bad move by them. But, they haven't made the best moves lately. Where do you see the Mavs going here at 5?
I see them taking Mohamed Bamba.
Oh, you have Mo Bamba going there.
Yep. Oh, yeah. I think going there, Rick Carlisle is not one of these quote-unquote system coaches. He just calls plays accordingly to who he has around him. I think he's going to put him in really good situations to score, and he's obviously really athletic and strong, so he's going to run the floor well, defends the rim. I think he's going to provide a lot of what they need because they don't have that right now. They're playing Dwight Powell a lot at center, and that's not working out. So,
yeah.
Mohamed Bamba.
You think that Mo Bamba is going to be the guy that they thought Nerlens Noel would be?
Yeah. Well, they're going to hope that at least because they shit the bed on Noel. But
yeah, I'm a Bamba too. Before Scout on Hoops Hysteria, I really didn't like it much at all. Once I got into Scout reading his reports, he has a 7-foot 10-inch wingspan, which is freaking insane, and he's just a defensive monster. And I personally think his ceiling is Hakeem Olajuwon. Will it reach that ceiling? I don't know.
What a fucking ceiling to have, huh?
This is a decent ceiling. His floor is Bismack Biyombo. His ceiling is Hakeem Olajuwon.
3-foot high ceiling, man.
Yeah.
But if Dallas got him to this junior, they continue to develop properly, and 5 to 6 years, Mavericks could be good.
Yeah, I could see that. I actually had him going Jaren Jackson, just because I think that who I had going 6 just was kind of funny in my opinion, and it would kind of fit the mold for what this team's done over the past few years. But I have Jaren Jackson going 5 to the Mavs. We'll look at 6, and then we'll go ahead and dive into some other things here with the draft. Number 6, you have the Magic. They've really struck out everywhere that they've looked recently.
Oh, yeah.
Jonathan Isaac was probably least valuable player from last year's draft because he held a roster spot. Fletch, where do you see the Magic going at 6?
Well, I don't think this guy's that good, but I think I could see them drafting him, and that's Wendell Carter, just because they shit the bed on a lot of draft picks. I don't know what Wendell Carter's going to provide you.
He can dunk.
That's all that you fucking need to be on the Orlando Magic, I guess. So.
That's the truth. The Magic are odd. I have Mo Bamba going there, and just for the simple fact, this team has been looking for Shaq and looking for Dwight Howard so bad that they cannot stand it.
Where's he at? Where's the next one?
Dude, that is the truth. Listen, this team, their last 18 picks since 2010, 10 of them have been either power forwards or centers, and they went out and gave Bismack Biyombo a huge contract for basically no reason, and they traded Victor Oladipo, who turned out to be, a top 15, 20 player in the league, for Serge Ibaka. So this team, so bad, wants there to be just another really, really good big there. That's why I have them going with Mo Bamba here.
They had one for a while until he fell off, that Nikola Vucevic or whatever his name was.
Oh, yeah.
He was okay. I don't know what happened to him, but he's riding to Pine now, so.
Yeah, I feel like they're the only team left in the NBA that if they had one position that they would be great at, it would be center.
Yeah, probably, but I'm taking Trae Young because they traded Elfrid Payton away. And
that's a good pick.
Like you said, they need a lot of play. Trae Young, you can put it in the hoop in college, get it in the NBA. I don't know, but you can probably shoot a 3-point released. And they need a lot of stuff, so Trae Young.
Yeah, and they need somebody who's not scared to shoot it, and that's Trae Young.
Trae Young likes shooting basketball.
Trae Young makes more sense than Wendell Carter, but
they don't make a whole lot of sense.
That doesn't mean shit, yeah.
Sense.
Yeah, it's been pretty rough. So we'll fast forward down to picks 12 and 13. Very interesting scenario. You have the Clippers, who kind of looked like they were wanting to rebuild the past year. What do you think would be the dream scenario for this team to get back to the playoffs and lose in the second round again?
For the dream scenario, would be at pick 12 or 13. Colin Sexton falling out a lot of draft boards. I haven't seen him fall down to the Clippers in any of them yet, but if he does fall to the Clippers, then take Colin Sexton. And then they can take a player like Miles Bridges at 13, who's also going to be a strong NBA player.
I don't understand how Miles Bridges is falling so low, because people said he would have been a lottery pick after his freshman year, and he played awful, and he played way better his second year. So I don't know what's... Like, this mock draft I'm looking at right here, they have him 15 outside of the lottery. I don't know how you get better from a year before and then get projected worse. I don't understand how that works.
The NBA makes no sense with their drafts.
But if you can get Kevin Knox, Colin Sexton, or Miles Bridges, if you can get any two of those guys, I think that's a pretty good route to have.
Yeah, I agree. I actually have Sexton and Bridges put here, just for the simple fact that, like, you know, Miles Bridges, a lot of people said how he disappeared late in games and, like, he would kind of defer and not look to be the man at the end. You saw it in their fall against Syracuse that he was exactly that. And you have Colin Sexton, who, you know, we make a lot of jokes about guys with the look in their eye, but like Colin Sexton was out there 3-on-5, just ultimate grinder, ultimate will, trying to win the game still whenever his team only had 3 guys left that they were able to play. I went and watched him in the SEC tournament, and the guy's an absolute baller, and he is all effort all the time, a lot like Russell Westbrook. So I think that if you got a guy like Bridges who's a little more laid back, and a guy who's out there just trying with the killer instinct every single play like Colin Sexton, that could create a very good situation for the Clippers moving forward.
Doc Rivers better consider trading those 2 picks for Kawhi Leonard.
That would be very interesting.
Yep.
He won't do it.
He won't do it, but trade those 2 picks, Gallinari, load up on Kawhi Leonard, Patty Mills, boom.
They'll be a 5 seed.
It might be an 8 seed, but...
It's the West we're talking about. You think that he'll include Austin in those trades?
Fuck no, he's going to give Austin a max.
Yeah, sign Austin to that max deal.
Got to clear up cap space for him. He'll trade those 2 picks and those 2 guys just to clear up space for his own son and not even get Kawhi Leonard.
That'd be a bold strategy, but it'd fit the bill for this guy. So 4 days before the draft, let's hand out some very unwarranted labels. Guys, who is your biggest bust in this draft?
Mine could be Robert Williams. He's the forward from Texas A&M. And he's super athletic, and he tested really well at the combine, and probably did well workouts.
Guess who else is athletic in the NBA?
Every player.
Every single player.
Exactly. And I ended up doing 14 to Denver, which is last pick in the lottery. But last year at Texas A&M, he only averaged 9 rebounds a game and 10 points. Those numbers aren't blowing me away. And if he's so pushing athletic, you think get more than 9 rebounds a game. So I hate Robert Williams in the NBA.
Does Kenneth Faried still play?
Oh yeah.
On the Nuggets?
Oh yeah, he's still getting paid.
Well, I don't know if Robert Williams is going to be that guy, because if he gets drafted there, I think it's a stupid draft pick, but I also think that, he won't get the playing time. But the bust I'm going to have is either going to be Trae Young or Wendell Carter. I don't think either one of those 2 dudes are bred for the NBA. Just Wendell Carter can't shoot. He's only 6'10", so playing center, I don't know how well that's going to work. And then Trae Young's not even 6'2", standing in basketball shoes. And Steph Curry, when he shoots a deep 3, it just looks like a regular shot, and you can tell that Trae Young is heaving that son of a bitch up there.
Oh, he is. You know what Trae Young reminds me of?
Tell me.
Have you ever seen those games where they have like the little kids out there shooting at a 10-foot goal, where they're like in an upward basketball league? Like, it looks like him shooting a deep 3 is the equivalent of those guys like shooting outside of the free throw line. Yeah, just heaving it up there. And whenever I watched Trae Young in the tournament, every time that he would load up to shoot, I was screaming at the TV because it didn't make any sense. It'd be clutch time and he'd just be throwing balls up there. And if Steph Curry, I've said it before that I feel like out of all the NBA players, he has the smallest margin of error, because if he can't do his one thing, he's going to be bad. And this is a player who's a step below Steph Curry, So what else is he going to do? He's not going to provide anything to a basketball team, and I think that Trae Young will bust, but I don't think he's going to be the biggest bust.
Before we keep on Trae Young, I read one scouting report on him that said he's a good passer in college, which he's a good passer in college, but they said I think he'll be a better passer shooting into the NBA. I don't see how you can assume him to be a better passer in the NBA than college from the first day.
That makes absolutely zero sense.
Yeah.
He's gonna
You got better shooters. You got more space. You are playing against better competition, but if you throw the ball to Dick Fuck for Oklahoma and then you throw the ball to, I don't know, a guy who's a professional basketball player, I guess your odds are better, but you're going to have not Dick Fuck from Texas Tech guarding you on the other end.
That's true.
So.
Yeah, you're bringing the ball up against like Russell Westbrook compared to whoever Iowa State's throwing out there. It's a lot different, in my opinion.
Right.
My biggest bust though is Jaren Jackson. I just don't see how this guy's gonna be good. I paid a lot of attention to Michigan State this year, and the guy averaged 10 points and 5.5 rebounds, and he is 6'11". If you're getting 5.5 rebounds per game, that just shows me that you are not giving any effort whatsoever on the basketball floor. And it's pretty depressing because, like Leighton has said, his whenever he has a little blemish of brilliance, it's awesome. And he's very, very good. But in the NBA, you have to try every possession. Otherwise, you're going to be getting left behind. And getting 5 rebounds is not good enough for me. And then you also look at it. In the biggest moments, this man disappeared. He played in two games in the Big Ten tournament, and then he played in 2 games in the NCAA tournament. He had 10 total field goal makes.
Yeah, no, he disappears at times for sure.
He disappears in the biggest of times. I think the game against Syracuse, he didn't even make a single field goal. He had 2 points, and in every single one of those games, he got 10 or less points, which is crazy to me for a guy who's so talented out there. I think in one of those games, he actually had 5 field goals. So half his field goals came in one game.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure, Megan talking about, he had 4 fouls halfway through the second half, too. So he's definitely not disciplined enough not to foul anybody.
Yeah, and for a guy who averaged, 21 minutes a game, obviously his motor isn't set to play a full 48 NBA regular season game. I just think he's going to be an absolute bust. So we talked about our bust. Let's go ahead and hit on it. Guys, who are your late first round sleepers or your second round picks that you guys see that could have a successful NBA career?
I got 2 sleepers, and the first one I found by accident. I already had my sleeper picked out for this part of the show, but I just stumbled on this guy on accident. I'm like, well, hell yeah, he's pretty good too. His name is, I'm probably going to say it wrong, Isuf Sanan, and he just sounds like a fucking bust from the get-go.
Oh, yeah.
But
he sounds like a 4th overall pick to the Suns who doesn't play in 2 years.
Yeah. He's 6'4", he's 190, youngest player in the draft. He, let's see here, in the 2017 FIBA U18 World Championships, his per 40 minutes were 21.6, 6.9, 3 assists, 4 steals, a block and a half, had a 24 PER. It says here, oh, my bad, he's actually the second youngest player in the draft. They say he's ultra aggressive. He's a confident combo guard who has, awesome physical tools, intensity. When he gets downhill or when he comes on the fast break or pick and rolls, he gets really downhill when he's handling the ball. So he fits perfect into the mold of the NBA where it's going.
So he's going to be a Spur. Second round pick to the Spurs.
Undrafted all-star to the Spurs,
yes.
Yeah. But, he could be a guy that plays for the Spurs and does great for sure. But the guy who I immediately thought of was Tony Carr out of Penn State. I don't know if you guys know him or not. He's about 6'4", 6'5", 205 pounds. Did you guys watch him at all? Do you guys know? No? Okay. Nope. He averaged, 19.5 points, about 5 rebounds, 5 assists. He shot 43% from 3.
Oh, wow.
80% from the free throw line. Where he leaves some stuff on the table is his field goal percentage. He shot 40.8%, so that's not super good. But he's got physical tools. He's got the numbers here. He's got great size for his position. He's long. He could theoretically spend time at the 2 just because he is 6'5" and he does shoot such a high percentage from 3. He has some success initiating post-ups on smaller guards, so that's not going to get used unless you're like Sean Livingston. What is most impressive about him, though, is that he had a usage rate of like over 30% or around 30% for Penn State. So he shouldered all that offense and then scored all those points, shot that well from 3. So that's really impressive to me. They have him slotted going at like 53 or 2 to the Thunder. And I don't think the Thunder have made a whole lot of great moves, but they do draft really, really well.
Oh, especially guards.
They just don't retain their players that well, besides Westbrook. So those are my two guys.
My sleeper for the draft is Justin Jackson out of Maryland. Going back to
medical doctor.
Medical doctor. Going back to last summer, he was expected to be a lottery pick on this draft. Went to the Adidas Hoop Summit. The stat was really weird. They showed the points per minute. He had 43 points in 8 minutes to play. And then he tore his labrum and basically developed his entire season. And he's one of those guys when you look at him, go to clip for the day, you think, okay, he'll come back for the junior season, whatever. He didn't stay in the draft, but if he can retain his shooting form and good playing ability, I think in the late second round, I'm going to be an absolute steal. And my other guy is Anthony Simmons. I scouted him on Hoopers Stadium 2 or 3 weeks ago.
Had nothing good to say about him either.
He's the guy who skipped college into IMG Academy as his quote-unquote grad year of high school. 19 years old, 18 and a half year old, playing against 17-year-olds, putting on show and ISO ball.
What a badass.
What a stud.
I'm not a huge fan of Anthony Simmons, but I mean, he's super athletic, super quick, going 35 to Orlando right now. So, kind of like Mo Bamba said him earlier, I think if both reach their ceilings, they can be good.
Did he get his master's degree of high school?
It's IMG Academy, dude. All you play basketball for 8 months.
He got his PhD.
Yeah. Show up 8 o'clock. Basketball till 3. My late round sleepers, guy, I've actually talked about a lot on this show. Malik Newman, very interesting story. He was a top 10 high school player coming out 3 years ago, and he went to Mississippi State. He had a big following, and it was really weird whenever he came out because he had his own website, and he was basically trying to promote himself as like this big star, and he definitely flopped.
He had a posse at his high school games.
Yeah.
Me and Skip, well, nobody knows Skip is the guy I go with, but we were sitting there watching, we were like, why does he have like 7 guys with him right now? That doesn't make sense.
He had his posse.
Yeah.
I like it. No, but he went to Mississippi State and flopped super hard, and I feel like he got his...
Just real quick, you know why he went to Mississippi State?
Wasn't it because it was close to home?
No, his dad played at Mississippi State, so he's like, well, I'm going there too.
No kidding.
Yeah.
Wow.
So, another fun fact about Newman.
Well, he flopped pretty hard at Mississippi State, and a lot of guys, it's hard. I like to see how guys react. Like he goes to Mississippi State, tries to put on this big show with all these followers, and flops super hard. Well, instead of staying at Mississippi State or going straight to the draft, he goes to Kansas for a season, and he's kind of that guy that I've said it once already, but I'll say it again. He's the look in the eye guy. Like he's the guy that's who's going to take the last shot just looking at the huddle. And the torch for Kansas over the past 3 years had been sitting in Devontae Graham's hands. Like he had been the guy that was going to be late game situation. He's going to be getting the ball, and he's going to do something good with it. Well, Malik Newman ended up becoming that guy later in the season. I mean, in his 7 NCAA or Big 12 tournament games, he scored 20 points at least in 6 of those games. And I think 3 of his 4 highest point totals this year were in tournament games. He shot 41% from 3, 51% from 2, so he really doesn't take any bad shots. And I think that is because he had been so low in the dumps, being at Mississippi State, realizing, that he might not have been as good as what he thought he was in his head, because in his head he thought he was Michael Jordan coming out to Mississippi State. And, he's still a very, very good basketball player, got the slice of humble pie, and he's responded well to that. So I think Malik Newman get a second-round steal, because he will slot into that second round, probably even late second round, but I think he could parlay that into a very, very successful NBA career. So we'll hit on some specific guys here. Some very odd players. One in particular is Dante DiVincenzo. He's basically the guy who's won 30-point game in the title game away from not even being on draft boards. Came out early after he was a bench player at 1 year at Villanova. Where do you see him landing? Because I've seen him all the way from the lottery to the late first round. Do you think that his talent is warranted to go there, and where do you think he'll end up?
Everybody talks about the big championship game he had, and I mean, he played one hell of a game. He played awesome, and he really was basically their 6th starter, for them. But so that championship game boosted him up big time. But what nobody talks about is the draft hit he took after the game. Because after the game, as soon as the game was over, Jay Billis, that big block that he had in the game on, well, shit, it doesn't matter anyway. He blocked some guy during the game, and it was like the two-handed block where he just walled up on the guy.
Right.
Jay Billis compared him to Timothy Mozgov after the game with that block. So,
Are you serious?
Yeah. so his NBA career went down the shitter then, but he, you know what? I told you guys
He should have retired. He's like, if I'm compared to Timothy Mozgov, I'm done.
Coach, can I just have my jersey and hang it up forever?
Thanks, Jay, for being my life.
But, you know, he had a hell of a championship game. He's taller than what I realized. I didn't realize he was flirting with 6'5" or 6 or whatever he is. But he had the highest vertical and, like, tied for the highest max vertical in the draft. So I got big hopes for the guy. He can shoot it. I really hope I hope he's a good NBA player. So
yeah, I just got him a few weeks ago. I think he'll have a long NBA career off the bench in a starting position because one, he'll be able to shoot it, and he can shoot some nobody's going to want you. I think Fletcher was saying he is sneakily athletic, and so I don't think he'll be able to play decent defense in the NBA.
Yeah, I like DiVincenzo to a certain extent. I feel like he could be that guy who goes like 13 to 17 and end up being like the Donovan Mitchell of of the year prior, where Mitchell kind of came out of nowhere. DiVincenzo has a very, very similar makeup and ability as Donovan Mitchell does, but he had to have the one game to boost him up to prominence in the title game. I could see him landing, which I think the dream scenario for him is probably going to the Spurs. I think the Spurs have the 18th pick. If they move Kawhi, and they're going to need to fill some athleticism there. I think DiVincenzo could slot right up there and give them some athleticism on the court. I know he's not Kawhi Leonard. I'm not comparing him to Kawhi Leonard, so don't get me wrong there. But you're going to lose a lot of athleticism because Kawhi is probably your most athletic guy. I think DiVincenzo would do a great job there.
Well, he's Italian, so he's got the natural fit in New York. But they got him slotted going 17th to Milwaukee. I think that's a death sentence. But if he can go to San Antonio, if he can go to Phoenix, Atlanta, any of those picks to just get solid playing time and go out there, I like him a lot.
Yeah, I think his career is dependent on where he lands.
Absolutely, yeah. That's what he's saying.
Well, they do have Budenholzer. They don't have that dipshit who was at Milwaukee.
Prunty.
Yeah, I don't even want to remember that guy's name, but yeah.
Prunty was the GOAT.
Yeah, like you were saying, go to Milwaukee, death sentence, but having to fall 27 to the Celtics, he'll be a Hall of Fame All-Star. So.
Yeah, that's no kidding. Another player here, declared for the draft, LiAngelo Ball. Do you guys think that there's any way that he gets drafted?
One NBA scout already said only ever played a day in the NBA, so no.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, no, I think he had half a steal with the winning league.
Yeah, he had to work out for the Lakers, and then he had to work out for the Warriors first, then a workout for the Lakers. He didn't even get invited or go to the NBA draft combine. He went to a completely separate combine held at the IMG Academy, and not even all 30 teams showed up. Like 19 of the 30 teams showed up.
Why would they even show
I saw
up?
that tape. He was good out there.
I'm impressed. I'm impressed that many people actually showed up to that.
Well, anyway, the Laker workout, I was reading from Bill Plaschke. He said that the workout was about half of what a typical workout is, and they said at the end he just looked like an average guy out there playing. And that's sad.
That's pretty funny. Interesting prospect. We'll stay on the Villanova train for a second because I feel like it was very odd how all the big names from Villanova all declared for the draft basically at the same time, and they're going to be left with really nothing there in Villanova. Jalen Brunson. He's kind of that late first round, maybe early second round player. Where do you think would be a good spot for him to land? And where do you think would be best for Jalen Brunson?
I think that he's such a strong player that's a high IQ. He'll be an okay player wherever he goes. But obviously going to a team that's already established a culture of winning would be better for him. So talking about late first round, you got Boston, Golden State, Indiana, even Utah and Portland maybe. Portland probably taking care of Damian Lillard. But a team like that already had a culture of winning. That'll be better for Jalen Brunson.
Totally agree. I don't have a lot to add to that, but I want to magnify more what you said. He's a smart player. He's a mature player. I think wherever he goes, he's not going to get swayed by any kind of bullshit. I don't think he's going to succumb to any kind of locker room or city pressures of anything. I think he's a smart player, mature player.
Yeah, I agree there. And I feel like unless he goes to, say, a team that's well ran and a very, very good coach, I feel like he's going to be the smartest guy out there. Like day one, Jalen Brunson's going to be the smartest guy on his team unless he goes to like 3 or 4 teams in the NBA. And I think that'll be a big, big hit on his career early if he ends up walking to a room where he's the smartest guy. Now, if he goes somewhere like Golden State, Boston, like you had said, I think that would honestly change the trajectory of his career. So we'll go through some dream scenarios. Basically, Thursday night, if we see these guys get drafted to this team, we say that they absolutely hit a home run, and this player fits the bill for this team perfect.
My dream scenario guy is Michael Bridges to the Bulls, who coming out of championship season. A very good shooter, very strong player, played for an excellent coach in college. That reminds you of any other former Chicago Bull from the last season in college? Michael Jordan.
Oh!
So if the Bulls draft Michael Bridges, basically getting second coming Michael Jordan.
Basically, I
like that.
I don't know. I'm not too in love with any of the team makeups that I see in the draft and the players that are going there. I think the top two, if I see Dayton go to Phoenix and then Doncic go to Sacramento, I think those two teams hit the ball out of the park. I think they, got 2 really solid players who are going to be franchise cornerstones for them. But other than that, it's all kind of just who plays well and what fits. So.
Yeah, on to Jalen Brunson. I think that if he went to the Pacers, which that would be my dream first-round pick for the Pacers to get a point guard with a very, very high IQ. He'll be playing behind Darren Collison, so there's a very good chance that he could get a ton of playing time in his first season. And, they have very, very good pieces around him with Sabonis, Miles Turner, Victor Oladipo. And I think that's a locker room that he would fit well into, and it's kind of like that tough team that Jalen Brunson would be able to flourish in. And another one, Colin Sexton, if he went 9 to the Knicks, you mix that with Porzingis, Hardaway Jr., and an excellent coach like David Fizdale, I think that, I had said earlier how he has that Russell Westbrook mentality. He's super athletic, and, the look in his eye type thing. I think that would be a match made in heaven for the Knicks. Guys, anything else about the draft that you'd want to hit on?
Kind of the other day that Kawhi Leonard wants to be traded from over San Antonio. Like half an hour later, Sacramento said they would trade the second overall pick for an established star. Do you think Kawhi Leonard will be traded during the draft, and you think Sacramento will be the spot where he goes?
Remember you asked me this question the other day, who was going to trade something in the top 5, and I said Sacramento. Because they have so many young players at so many positions, like if there was a team that was going to trade a pick, it would be them. I'm just going to pat myself on the back here and say I called that, but
that was an excellent call. Would that not be so fitting for Kawhi though? Like you are in the best basketball locker room over probably the past 20 years. With probably the best coach we've seen in the NBA in a very, very long time, arguably the greatest. And you sit there and you say how bad you want out, and then your out is the Sacramento Kings.
When did the Spurs get Tyronn Lue?
Well, I think his last year is a player option, so I think he's only tied down for 1 more year. So the thing is, the Spurs are kind of beholden to Kawhi Leonard because him coming out and saying I'm only going to be traded. I want to go to the Lakers. Another team's not going to offer that much for him because they're just going to be a rental. Like the Celtics aren't going to give 2 picks and Jaylen Brown for a guy who they're going to have for a year and then haul ass out of town. So
right.
But Sacramento would be another franchise, kind of like Phoenix, Minnesota, New Orleans. That's just that fucking stupid. Where they'll trade the ship for a dude who's out in a year. So
I'm going to give you guys an over/under here. Over/under half, 0.5 trades in the lottery.
In the lottery?
I'm going to go with over, because like I just said,
there's going to be 1.
Sacramento, or I can see LA possibly combining the 2 lottery picks, trade up a little bit and get somebody else.
Yeah, you got Sacramento who could trade for a star. You got Cleveland who could trade and attach salary to that pick.
Even the Grizzlies could possibly trade that pick and get
another star,
Parsons contract off the books.
Cleveland, they could look to trade that pick and attach salary to it. LA could look to trade those 2 picks and get a better pick or try to get Kawhi Leonard. So I'm going to go with at least 2 trades in the draft.
Yeah, I think it'll be very interesting on draft night. I think this is going to be one of the more interesting draft nights that we've had.
I think there are only like 4 or 5 really talented prospects that I'm interested in, and outside of that, it gets kind of, the pickings are slim, so I can see trades coming.
Right. It's a very, very top-heavy draft, to say the least. Fletcher, thank you very much for joining us here. We appreciate your basketball knowledge anytime we can get it.
Well, that's the best around.
Always humble.
Speaking of always humble, probably the most humble guy on this podcast, that's our producer, Mr. Leighton Cheventone. Always grinding for us. And this is our moment to kind of put him in the spotlight here. In case you guys don't know, this is time for Pip's Entertainment Review. 1 2 1 2 Pip's Entertainment Review. Sit on down for a movie to view.
Well, this week I'm mixing up for you a little bit. Instead of reviewing a movie or a TV show or whatever, I'm reviewing some food. You might have heard the Omaha.
Oh, so you're going to be mixing this in a little Eater Delete Darts edition.
A little bit Dark edition. You might have heard of these deals from a company called Omaha Steaks, where you get like 20 pieces of meat for like $50. And you might think, okay, that's a good deal, but this has to be absolute shit meat.
Oh, I 100% do. I've heard those before. I hear it a lot, like being they like sponsor a bunch of stuff, and I'll hear it on the radio, and I think, man, that deal is way too good to be true.
Yeah, well, so Father's Day was coming up, and they had a special where you can get filet mignon, top sirloin, pork, burgers, hot dogs, dessert meatballs, all that fun stuff.
See, I've never actually heard them talk about hot dogs. Like, they only hit the highlights. They're like, well, oh yeah, filet mignon T-bones.
They call them premium franks or some shit, but it's just hot dogs.
Okay, so regular hot dogs.
Yeah, so I said, you know what? I'm living on my budget right now. I'm going to try these babies out. Get in the mail, and now I'm going to tell you a review of 6 of the items. We will start off with the seasoning packet. So basically, it's a small thing of seasoning, but it tastes really, really good. So the seasoning by itself gets 3 dips.
Oh, wow. So it's that good of a seasoning.
It's one of the best seasoning I've ever had.
Okay.
Like, I actually ordered more seasoning already.
Oh, all right. They sold you on something.
Yep. Okay, now we go in order that I ate the food. Start with cheeseburgers. Have you ever been to a cookout or barbecue or something like that, and the family putting it on has to cook for like 20 or 30 people, so they just go out and buy the pre-patted frozen cheeseburgers?
Yes.
That's basically what these are. That's what they look like. You take them out of the...
Wait, do they already have the cheese on them?
They do not have cheese on them.
Okay,
no.
so you said that they look like the cheeseburgers. I was just trying to clarify for everybody. They look like the hamburgers.
The hamburgers, yes.
Okay.
They make cheeseburgers like that?
No, that's what I was getting ready to say. They're ahead of the game.
Hamburgers. Omaha Steaks, if you're listening, put cheese on these things already. Be ahead of the game. But no, so the cheeseburger, or the hamburger, they all come freeze dried, obviously, and what's what I'm looking for? Airtight packages.
Okay.
If you take out an airtight package, you gotta kind of be careful with it, because basically just pre-patted compressed beef kind of falls apart on you.
That falls apart on you?
These do.
No, dude. I've actually cooked the pre-patted other burgers from other companies. I have never had one of them fall apart.
But did you have to thaw them out first?
Yes.
You did. Okay, well,
I did.
Oh, I didn't know that. Well, these recommend you thaw them out, take out a packet, it kind of pretty sure it falls apart, but it cooks back together, and then it cooks fine. You eat it. You can tell right off the bat that it's not the highest quality ground beef. It's definitely not 80-20 ground beef.
Right.
So
we're looking like 50-50.
We're looking like 50-50, maybe even 20-80.
They shrink up so you can put it on a Ritz cracker.
Yeah, like I made a double cheeseburger, come man, not some little bitch, and it was not the biggest double cheeseburger I had in my life, but it wasn't bad. I'm gonna give it 1.6 dips.
Okay.
Next, we have the franks. I'm not a big hot dog guy, so I'm gonna ask all the dippers this: how much do you like hot dogs?
I'll eat them if they're there.
It's that good.
Okay.
However much you like a hot dog, give it that number of dips in your mind.
Okay.
I'm not a big hot dog guy, so I'm just gonna get 1.5. It's a very average score.
Okay.
We'll next go to the filet mignon. As you all know, a filet is a center cut piece of meat, and the meat to fat ratio throughout to be consistent. And to my surprise, it actually was.
Oh wow.
I know, I was kind of talking about this too. The meat though, you can tell it wasn't the highest quality meat, obviously. It was a bit chewier, that I would have liked.
So we have now said this wasn't the highest quality of meat, obviously, 3 times.
We're going to say it at least one more time.
Okay.
And so it's chewier than I would like it, but I'm on my steaks medium. So you like your steak more well done, it will be not as chewy. But the filet still tasted good. Of course, use the seasoning packet on it. And I get the filet a 2.2 out of 3 dips.
Okay, so not too bad. Better than the hamburger.
Better than the hamburger. Next, we have the caramel apple tartlet. We got a little dessert in the Father's Day package.
Yeah, this sounds delicious.
You can cook it one of 2 ways, in the oven or the microwave. I didn't have time for the oven because I'm 24, it's 2018, I want my shit fast.
Right.
It's microwave.
You're a millennial. You want everything right there, the result done.
Speaking of that, I'll talk real quick. The other day I showed my dad a video on Twitter. I hit the video, the little rolling icon rolled for 5 seconds, said, oh, shit's not going to work. He said, you didn't get enough time. No, I have enough of experience. If it's even more than 5 seconds to load, it's never going to play.
Right. No, I agree with you.
But back to the caramel apple tartlets. Put it in the microwave for 60 seconds. The thing kind of blooms like a flower and falls apart. So I'm looking at it, I'm like, man, that looks real good for some ice cream. What I have in my fridge? Some Oreo ice cream. Mm-hmm. Throw a scoop on there.
So caramel apple tartlet a la mode.
A la mode. I had a bite of without the ice cream. Pretty good. It was flakier than you would think coming out of the microwave. Wasn't as chewy. So I'm happy with that. Boom, automatic 3 dips for the dessert.
Oh, wow. So is that good?
Yeah. And finally, the last thing I've had is the pork.
See, you ate these completely wrong. I would have went dessert first. I would have seen that caramel apple tartlet sitting there, and I would have just dove right on it.
Well, you see, I just ate them how I filmed them. So,
dessert's always first.
I went to the pork. I haven't had anything I got sent yet. I took it out to try the french fries and chicken fried steak. But the pork is just, it's good pork. I like the pork a whole lot. I had it last night. I actually had the first time it was so good, I made a second one. The pork is 3 dips.
Oh, wow.
Very good pork. You honestly cannot tell, it's a pork chop. You cannot tell the difference in the pork chop you got from them for when you buy it in the store.
Interesting.
So, that's basically anything I've ate. The score is, pretty good. Probably average about a 2. If you want to buy them each separately, I get some prices. Like the filet by itself is still $8, so that's not a good of a deal.
Right.
But if you gotta go on there, you gotta buy one of the packages where you get like 20 pieces of meat for $50 and you say like $2.70. All those deals are gonna be 3 dips.
You think so? So the deal itself is 3 dips.
Yes. Honestly, anytime I buy meat again, I'm probably gonna buy it this way.
Okay, very interesting.
One of those things because you get like 20 pieces of meat, 6 varieties of the meat. For $50, $60, Omaha steaks, 3 dips.
All right, so all of you podcasters out there balling on a budget, Leighton C with his stamp of approval on Omaha Meats.
Absolutely.
Very, very interesting. I was surprised you gave so many 3 dips out of that.
I was surprised too because you were skeptical. We talked about it before the podcast. You always thought that meat would be definite shit.
Oh, yeah.
And the kind of thing, the cheeseburgers and the hot dogs, yeah, it's shit. But it's really cheap. Like they know it too.
Oh yeah.
Because you get 2 fillets and you get 10 fucking hamburgers. Like they know what to sell you on.
Oh yeah. They're just trying to they get you in on the deal just to buy a lot more.
Absolutely, yeah. But like if you're one of those people out there that can afford to honestly go to like a grocery store that might be and buy the higher grade quality of meat, definitely do that. But if you're somebody like me, 24, just moved out on their own, trying to save up money still, this is the best way to go in terms of game meat.
Okay, so Omaha Meats gets the stamp of approval by the producer, Leighton C.
All right, guys. Before we wrap this thing up, do we have any bold predictions? B-Reich, we'll go ahead and let you go first.
Puma is going to sign at least one more big name before the next podcast.
So you're saying that I need to buy stock now?
Yes. It's going to be a big entertainment. It's all entertainment now. It's going to be it's going to be up there.
Brandon Riker, financial advisor, says buy Puma stock. I'm all in.
See, I'm against buy Puma stock. After I saw what Jay-Z did to the Nets, I don't want any part of Puma.
Yeah, I know. He's going to fire sale.
Hey, to be fair, it's one of the things you got to buy and then sell real fast. The Nets were, when he bought all those, they've never been higher, and then it just
they haven't been that high since either.
Right after it.
That is true. As soon as he got there, they got
sell.
the big three.
Buy sell. Exactly, you got to buy sell real quick.
I love it.
My bold prediction for this week is that the Astros lose first place to the Seattle Mariners.
Oh,
I love that. That actually transitions me straight into my bold prediction. So this time next week, the Mariners will be going in, or they would have already played the Yankees 3 times and the Red Sox 3 times. I think that the Mariners are going to win either 4 or 5 of those games and have first place in the AL West. I'm going to go 5. Bold. We're going 5. We're going bold. They're going to win. They're going to sweep the Yankees and win 2 against the Red Sox.
They don't win anything against the Red Sox at home.
Season's a speed bump, Leighton.
Yeah, it's a speed bump.
I mean, really, when they're only 16 above 500 and you're like 13 games ahead of the next wildcard team, it's a speed bump right now.
Yeah, it absolutely is a speed bump. Just until the All-Star break, then it gets fun. Guys, anything else before we wrap this thing up?
Just as always, make sure you subscribe and download. After you download, delete it, then re-download it, get them numbers up.
Yeah,
I agree with you 100%. Guys, make sure you're downloading, make sure you're rating, and make sure that you're giving us that 5-star review, and then download it again. As for Drake, as for Leighton C., thank you, Mr. Guest Host, Brandon Riker. Stay saucy.